Hey, I think we're back.
So we are back. I believe we are live. Yes, we are live. And so welcome to everybody, and especially welcome to Renee and Ted. This is amazing that we are actually meeting all three in one space at the same time from all over the world. Ted
Yeah.
is in at Lake Chapala in Mexico. Is that
Correct.
right? You've got a studio there overlooking the lake, which
Yes.
sounds absolutely amazing. And Renee, you're from Texas, you're in Texas, and my goodness, I was looking you up because Ted I've met physically, but you I haven't met yet except for hearing the song.
Oh,
And you've got an amazing, amazing trajectory of your life. So I don't
oh.
even know where to start. Let's see. uh, so this
Me
this
either.
so it's let's start with the Shining Lemurian, the song, because why we're all together. You graciously gave us permission to use this for the podcast. Now Ginny's not here today because she's probably fast asleep, New Zealand time. Um, but yes, and the song, people loved it so much that I didn't only use it for the intro and outro, I had to post the whole song. So anybody who's watching this, you can find the whole song somewhere on the channel. And this song has touched people so deeply.
Really?
What? Yes, yes. People really, it's really something, that song. I've had reactions from people I hadn't heard from in years, and all of a sudden they're sending messages saying how much they love this song. And the same happened to me when Ted played it to me back in Hawaii in 2010 or so, when we were doing executive fire walking on hot coals, just the kind of thing druids do, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't done it in a while, but Ted indoctrinated me into firewalking years ago. It's always been a wonderful, wonderful memory. Yeah.
Was that before or after you created the song together?
Probably before.
Before.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was
Right.
before.
So you had that initiation, Renee.
Mhm.
Where did you get that inspiration from? What's the magic behind the song?
The magic behind the song is that Ted and I, during that time period, were really channeling some very special magic. And we had a really great friendship. Our relationship, was deeply inspired, I think, by other worlds. And
Hmm.
we were in my apartment, and uh, I'm a songwriter. And of course, Ted's an amazing artist and also wordsmith. And I just started playing this melody, and these words started coming out uh, that I'd never heard before. Like, I had never heard of Lemuria at that point. I had
All
never heard of,
right.
yeah, that was the odd part about this song, is that I was writing this song all of a sudden, and Ted started chiming in as if, he knew what he was doing. We both were like,
Yeah.
writing a song that we thought, that sounded like we knew what we were doing, and neither one of us knew what we were doing. And so I think what really happened is what looks kind of the way it looks behind your, on your screen. It's like the Lemurians were
Mhm.
channeling this song through us, and I really do believe
Yeah.
that now.
Yeah.
As soon as the song was complete, we both looked at each other and we knew there was something sacred happening. And I immediately went to my computer. Ted was over my shoulder. And next thing you know, we're seeing all this information about Lemuria, Lemurians. I mean, we just could not get enough of it. I printed it all out. And to this day, I have the original printout of all the research that we dug through after we wrote the song.
Yeah, I can collaborate that with the handwritten notes that I was slamming down while we were in the middle of that magical place.
So
Yeah,
did
it's
you
real.
know, Ted, about the Lemurians before you wrote the song?
No, ma'am. I didn't even know what the word meant.
Neither one
Right.
of us.
So the Shining Lemurians, do you feel you can still access that energy?
Mhm. Well, I do occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, I think I live in it.
Yeah.
I don't access it. I'm in it. I have, when that song came through, I believe that with it came an artery of divine consciousness that pretty much has never left for in both of us.
It definitely affected my journey and my direction. It sure did. It
Can you
opened
say
me
a
up
little
for.
more about that?
Everybody that hears that song when I play it, they have the same reaction that you just talked about. Even my husband, who is as much of a grounded human as I know, he's obviously, he loves, to arrowhead hunt. He collects, he metal detects and he's into history. But when he listens to this song, he's like, man, there's something special about that song.
Yeah,
And everybody that hears it thinks the same thing.
Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's see. I found out, Renee, that you're the founder of the Rowdy Girl Sanctuary, and I found out that Rowdy Girl is a cow,
Yes.
right? Or was a cow. I don't know whether she's still alive.
She's still with us, yes.
She's still with you. Wonderful.
She's right here too. She talks
Oh.
through me.
Yes. So
Oh.
what does she say to the song?
Oh my gosh. Rowdy Girl. Well, I've never asked her what she said about the song. You're giving me I'm doing it right now. I'm talking to her about it. But she woke me up um from a deep sleep, and she never lets me rest. I mean, I do go to sleep and rest my body, but she doesn't let me rest as far as my mission goes. And I have played music for Rowdy Girl. I go out there and sing to the animals a lot, and I'm sure I've sang the song to her, but I've never really asked her specifically what does she think of the song.
Mhm.
But I'm doing it
Yes,
right now.
you're
If you'll
doing it. So,
give
so
me,
while you, yeah, shall I be quiet while you do that, or shall I
yeah,
continue?
I'm feeling it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so um, she's a Lemurian, and uh, there's no there's no difference in animals and humans except for our perception. And she's real clear. She's been real clear from me with me from the beginning that she's in charge of like the direction my life has is going since I've met her. And she said the reason that the song is just now that she's just now talking to me about it is because the essence, the energy, the frequency of the song is in and of itself all that's required, and that right now is the time we need to be talking about it, because right here, right now, is really all there is. And she says, Renee, don't forget that. And this is all divine timing.
Mhm. So do you feel that the song led you to communicate with Rowdy Girl?
I never really thought about it until now. But it could very well, now that it's all, honestly, to tell you the truth, I believe that that's exactly what happened now. But I would not have been able to verbalize that until the trinity of you, Ted, and I, and the energy that's here right now with Rowdy Girl I don't think that I would have ever been able to tune into that, but that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. So this was perhaps an initiation for both of you to bring you onto the amazing paths and lives you're living. And I want you to talk about Rowdy Girl just a little more, the background and the story of that. Ted, before we do that, Ted, what do you think the song led you to? Where did it lead you to?
Wow. The it I was already opening up. I'd already discovered fire walking, and I'd been doing that for, oh gosh, not too long before I was introduced to Renee. Um, and so I was all the fire walking opened up so many channels in me that it changed everything, which is why I'm so passionate about introducing other people to it, because I've seen it change so many lives. Um, but then the song, the Lemurian, when you listen to the lyrics, it's I'm getting goosebumps just recalling listening to the lyrics. It's timeless, absolutely timeless, and I it 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 just to me it feels like just kind of plugging into the wall socket and getting a supercharge and remembering ancient memories of what, oh gosh, it's hard to put into words, hard for me to put
Putting
into
it into
words.
words, though, you're doing a great job.
Well, you blame me for being a wordsmith, so I'm trying to live up to that reputation. But it brings forth feelings, emotion, past life, past civilization, but not just in the groundwork of the civilizations and not just in the physical stuff about the civilizations, but in the philosophies, in the galactic collection, galactic connection that the inhabitants of those previous civilizations had, that we in this civilization are just learning to remember. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're here for this. We're here right now for this reason.
Yes, yes,
We
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Do you
art you
find,
do, the art, I just want to say the art that you do, it's all part of it, like the one of the lines, paint fills the empty space and
Mm-hmm.
fingers from the places inside my heart where nothing
It
was.
was
Just
before. Yeah, just moments ago.
yeah, it's like, where did that come from?
I,
You know,
I,
I
yeah,
mean, I I just I looked at did you always have a backdrop like that?
me?
Ona? No,
me?
Ona.
Oh, no, I created this when I started the podcast with Ginny. So I just spent time putting this together.
But had you heard the song yet?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I heard the song and I feel like the song inspired me to create this type of backdrop.
That's what it
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
whenever we wrote the song, I saw the visual. I'm very visual, and so the music, uh, in all, it's like we could produce a video anytime, and the video would be amazing. And it looks, a lot of it looks just like what I see in your backdrop.
Let's do that.
We should do that.
I know you're busy and I know I'm
Oh,
busy,
I'm not
but
busy. I
we
don't ever
really
use that.
should do that.
I don't use that word. Busy doesn't work. It doesn't work in my life.
It just has to be
I
on your
like that.
calendar.
Yeah,
If I was busy, I wouldn't be here.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
don't use it.
Active, active.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
very
what word do you use?
productive. I'm
Productive. I like that.
I'm
I'm gonna
productive and I relax a lot.
I'm gonna steal that.
Good, you go ahead. It works for me.
Ted, did you draw soul mandalas before the song, or did that start after?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure I was doing, if I was doing this kind of artwork at that time, then I must have been doing the oral portraits. The oral portraits came to me in March of 2004.
Mhm.
Renee, you and I met right after Y2K. We put that workshop together, our Soulful of Art and Sound. And that's
Yeah.
what we were working on that night in your apartment. And we finished working on the workshop and got into the other stuff, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I just don't remember. Yeah, I think you were doing
I
the portrait, but
must
they
have, but I must have just got started in it because
and
I
Mm,
wasn't sure of myself and I was holding back a lot.
mhm.
I still have
That
my soul portrait. I got my soul portrait that you did of me framed, and it's in my bedroom.
It's so people say you say people are very deeply touched by your soul portraits. So just like with the song, I'm going to put the link, if you allow me to. I'll put the link to your soul portraits in the YouTube below.
oh, please do, please do. That
Yeah.
was definitely a gift, and it's been very, very important to a lot of people.
And I was
Yeah.
going to ask you what reactions you get from these mandalas, these personal mandalas. Renee, you've got one. I'll be getting one. Uh, what was your reaction, Renee?
When he did it, oh
Yeah.
gosh. I still, like I said, it's in my bedroom. I look at it every morning and every night before I go to bed. It is a embodiment of it's an embodiment of it's like a fusion of lives past and present for me.
Yeah.
And it's a fusion, and there's some really dark red in there that I have a lot of trauma in my life, and but the trauma is it's been healed and will continue to heal through many lifetimes, even to where eventually that trauma, that color will not even look like that anymore in next lives and whatnot. But it's a fusion of like a picture of my life, past and present, in this life right now.
And
Mhm.
and you when you do these paintings, these mandala paintings, do people have an intention, or is it more like an aura drawing? Is it a life drawing? How does it work?
Okay, good question. It's kind of two separate products. I have the what used to be called soul portraits, and I've changed that. I've been asked to change it to aura portraits. And the other one is intentional mandalas, which I call personal power mandalas. This came about later. In the dream that where I was given all of this, I was painting, and there were people out there that were waiting to be painted for, and I was painting these colored circles, much like the one behind me. And in the beginning, I didn't interpret the colors at all because I was completely new and unsure. And I knew that if I brought something from my head trash into the interpretation and they bought into that, then I could have some not so pleasant effects on their journey. And I was really not wanting to get into that karma. Later on, I learned how to be clear in those interpretations. And so I began to interpret things. Uh, I think Renee got one prior to my being comfortable with interpreting. Well, then in that dream, information was coming out of the artwork and going through my eyes, being stacked on the back of my head, and these looked like two-handle Egyptian urns, and I had no idea what that meant. Later, uh, I was to be, I was to understand that that was information waiting for me should I choose to accept this mantle, this journey, and move through the process. And when I did, information started coming up for me. And that's where the intentional power mandalas came from. Now, both of them have a lot to do with intention. Let's talk about the aura portraits. When I sit with someone, I say, here's my intention for you today is to reveal for you the most appropriate message for you at this most appropriate time in your life. We're going to get other messages, but this is what the intention is. And the small ones, those are like a movie trailer. They're a snapshot of that intention. I do a much larger version of a life portrait in which the interpretation, the painting takes hours, the interpretation takes hours. It's all typed and written down. And I look at the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual aspects of a person's aura, past, present, and future, with the caveat that the future is not necessarily set in concrete. All right, that's the aura portrait. That's a revealing. And I've had people sit across from me as CEOs of multi-million-dollar corporations and whatever, in absolute in tears, telling me I've changed their life forever because of the information that came up. Now, let's switch over here momentarily to the mandalas. Mandalas, there's been throughout history, there's been people that have shown up with gifts, with a special connection to source or the great mystery or whatever you want to call that. And in many cases, those persons were set aside by the community to become medicine men, medicine women, priests, whatever. And their sole purpose in life became keeping that connection clear. They weren't bothered with, they were supported by the community, totally supported. So that was their position, was to keep that. So in case the individual or the community needed guidance, they could go to this person and through that connection, get the guidance that they needed. So I use that with people who have a desire to change something about their condition, their life, their health, their wealth, their whatever, success in business, partnerships, or whatever. So I sit with those folks, and now it's gotten, because of quantum, my new learning is of quantum entanglement and how things work. I can connect with somebody anywhere and join them in their intention. They have an intention. Think about your intention. What is it going to look like? Travel into the future, see yourself surrounded by the circumstances that you want to experience, and then move emotionally into that. What are you going to feel like? What's it going to feel like when you wake up that next morning and you realize that you are now surrounded by the circumstances that you intended to create? The gratitude, the emotion, the thankfulness, the love, it's a beautiful shimmer in the auric field of that person. I capture that. I put it in an array of colors, much like you see in the background here, and then they put that in their life. The aura portraits do that too, to a certain extent, but this is even multiple times greater than that. And they'll I encourage them, put it on your wallpaper, on your computer, your refrigerator, your bathroom window, wherever you can, and just let it do its magic, because it's talking to the subconscious mind. It's bypassing our critical mind that wants to keep us from succeeding in every which way it can, thinking it's doing us a favor when it's really not, but that's a different seminar. But that's what it does. It continuously reminds the subject of their vision on a subconscious level. Once the subconscious mind starts engaging in that, okay, this is what my host wants, so this is what I'm going to work my magic with, and reach out into the universe and start attracting, realigning, setting up, synchronizing elements, people, whatever it is. to attract that vision into that person's life so that someday they wake up to that morning when, oh, it's, wow. And then I get a phone call. Ted, you wouldn't believe, you just wouldn't believe, we talked about doing all that kind of stuff. And you said one day that you were going to call me, and here I am, I'm calling you. So,
and then what happens afterwards? So the event has happened, everything has materialized. Then I need a new mandala, right? For the next
yeah.
vision.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about the mind, and I was watching some of your interviews, Renee. At one point you say, I lost my mind. You remember saying that?
Oh, I say it all the time.
Okay, so losing our minds is, that critical mind, that ego mind, whatever people call it, that the analytical mind. Losing our mind, I think, is an initiation, basically, to being able to bring messages through from beyond, which both of you are doing. Renee, tell me about losing your mind that led to
God,
Rowdy Girl.
thank God. I've even got a song about that,
Oh, you do?
Oh, I got a song about, I call it Out of My Mind, when I was out of my mind. Because when I'm out of my mind, when I'm losing my mind, that's that self-centered, self-will, self-destructive, uh, you know, and when I say self-will, self-destructive, and all, what I'm talking about is my higher purpose, why I'm here. I had to lose the mind that I was programmed um, to believe I am. The one that, I may have a Texas accent. I may, walk like a Texan, dress like a Texan, talk like a Texan, but this girl is deep. I have a really deep spiritual roots. My roots go deep and my antennas go way into the universe. And I think that's how Ted and I really connected, is because, you know, I have to I'm I have to access parts of that mind, that Texas mind. I mean, people are always like, "Oh my God, that accent." I'm like, "Well, it's legit. The accent is legit." But, what people don't know about me a lot is my deeply spiritual mind, that deep part of me that lives and breathes and is constantly processing, even like right now, or when I'm speaking at like recently I spoke at National Animal Rights Day in Austin. Really hard topics. I speak about a lot of hard topics of, things going on, with animals and whatnot in the world. And so it's my mission to expose that, to shine a light on that. And there's no way I could have done that had I kept an attachment to the mind that I had as a cattle rancher's wife. When I started seeing Rowdy Girl as my daughter, how am I going to eat my daughter? How am I gonna, send her to the cell barn and have her killed? Perception is everything, and Dr. Wayne Dyer says, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And when I started seeing Rowdy Girl as my daughter, everything changed, you know, everything.
So,
And her, huh?
can you give us a little, an image of what happened? You're remarrying your husband, and he's got this huge cattle ranch with I don't know how many black cows,
Yeah.
and you're basically eating meat.
Uh-huh.
And then what
Well,
happened?
I'm just, like I said, I'm a a typical Texas girl. I went to rodeos, I ate barbecue, I had chili cook-offs, all of that. And, when I saw cattle out there in a big pasture, I saw cattle. I didn't see individuals. And, it was when I started seeing Rowdy Girl, I started seeing her because I bought her. I bought her for $300 because my husband wanted me more involved in the cattle ranch, and I wasn't, really into it. I was producing At that point in my life, I was producing a Texas Women in Country Music showcase. I was, really working with a lot of women and, creating a lot of fun, dynamic showcases in, the Houston area. And so I really didn't have any desire to work the cattle ranch to help him with any of that. And he decided he would tell me about this baby that needed a mama since I'd never had any kids of my own, and it all backfired. So I met this calf and she had other plans. And Rowdy Girl, I now, as a result of this podcast, I'm going to process it a lot deeper. I'm going to do some writing about it. And, but she's, I always say she was my first vegan advocate. Well, now, she's probably you know, other than Ted, um, the next, another Lemurian in my life, that came here in guise of a cow to witness to me and to help me see things that I wasn't able to see. And Rowdy Girl has shown me that anything I think can be false. That any and everything I think can be false. And if it hurts somebody, if somebody, there's no reason why. She's taught me that there's no reason why any of my species have to be bought and sold. There's no reason. That is a human construct. It's not a spiritual construct. It's a human construct. So when I get into the spiritual construct of Rowdy Girl, I know straight away that commodifying, breeding animals for sale and production, splitting families apart, whether they're cows, chickens, goats, or whatever, it's not my job to mess with that. And she's shown me a lot. I see things, I see life totally different through her eyes. And I don't know how deep down the rabbit hole you want to go on this podcast about all that, but
I just want to know, how did it happen? That moment when she started talking to you and you realized it was a cow talking to you.
oh yeah. So I was bottle feeding her. It was 5 years before I went vegan, and I was bottle feeding her. And if you ever read the book Celestine Prophecy,
Yeah.
I read it a bunch, and you know how everything changes, just kind of like the soul portrait back there. Everything just gets more vivid. Everything gets more, bright. Well, when I was bottle feeding Rowdy Girl, everything got more vivid. I could see, even though all those cows out there were black Brangus for the most part, I started seeing them individually. I started telling them apart. That's how I knew she was talking to me, is because she was telling me through the merging of our auras. I was able to, it was like I was one of them. And so of course I could see them. I could see each and every one. And I started naming them, and I started being able to tell them all apart. I couldn't tell them all apart before I started bottle feeding Rowdy Girl. And then I went back and I would talk to my husband about it, and I would tell him, what was going on. I'm like, oh my God, I can tell all these cows apart, and I'm naming them. And he was like, what? You know, it was like, you can't do that. You can't name the cows. And I'm like, well, it's like they were naming themselves. It was like they were just telling me their names, and I was just shouting it out. And so that's how I knew Rowdy Girl was talking to me, is when I started seeing them and I became one of them. And I am a member of the herd, you know. I walk where they walk, I lay when they lay, I sit when they sit. I even have gotten down to the ground and chewed on grass when they chew on grass. It's it, why not?
Yeah, why not? So here I'm living in Kenya at the moment, and
Oh,
the Maasai, of course, they have the sacred cows, just like in India, the cow is very sacred. And the Maasai say that it was their God who gave them the cows, and they only eat cows, and they're sacred. So, and the interesting thing is that their God is called Enkai, which is very close to Enki. Enlil-Enenki, the Anunnaki, and the Kikuyus that live close to Mount Kenya, they call their god Ngai. Ngai, Enkai, Enki, all the same. And they say that Anunnaki god gave them the sacred cow. So when we say holy cow, are we talking to God?
You know, I think we are.
Yeah.
Holy cow, you know, heck yeah. And you know, when you think about, you know, moo, you know, and backwards it's om. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I just, you know, carry it full circle. Moo, moo.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's om backwards almost, kind
Well,
of.
it's kind of like it's the same. It's just like it's just that. It's not. It's just
Yeah.
you know, it's just like the vibration of it all. But you know, I know these cows. Like we have one here. Her name is Cinnamon, and she's a red Brahmin, and beautiful red Brahmin with big long floppy ears, and she was going to be going to the sale barn the day that she was rescued at Rowdy Girl. Somebody had seen a news story about Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. We were on local news, and a breeder contacted us in tears because Cinnamon was going to be sent to the sale barn. She was 5 years old, full blood red Brahmin, papers, everything. And they were fixing to sell her because she couldn't have babies. She was sterile.
Oh.
And so we took her, I mean, like literally hours before she was going to be loaded up and sent to sale. When Cinnamon arrived to Rowdy Girl, like that very next day, uh, tears were streaming down her face. When she was let off of the trailer, the minute her feet, she's about 2,000 pounds, and the minute her feet hit the ground, oh my gosh, I literally, I lit up inside. I can still feel it right now. I felt the vibration of that cow. It was like she made our ground sacred. At that moment she touched it, it was like, and I could feel it go all up inside me. I went to that cow and I embraced her, and as soon as I laid my chest on her, she took all kind of stuff, any grief, depression, past life, whatever type of stuff that was I was holding on to, I could feel it just leave. And to this day, she's the one out here that if you want to get that done, come put your breasts and your chest on Cinnamon.
Ah.
So she's a healer.
Oh my God. 100%.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and we mess with that. We kill these animals and we eat them, and we have no idea really what we're doing. We're so programmed in this society. We're really programmed. We've been programmed for eons, thousands of years.
Yes. And yet it says in the Bible something about, and I'm not sure about my Bible quotes here, something about the lion and the lamb, or the wolf and the lamb. And basically it's saying that when they get along with each other, then we will have peace. And there's so many different interpretations to that.
Oh,
It makes me think.
there's so many verses in the Bible like that. And you know, the lion will, you know, the wolf will lay with the lamb. There's a place in the Bible where it talks about the covenant that God is going to make with the animals. You know, because humans have, you know, God gave us self-will from what I understand. And, you know, that self-will has led us to use, abuse, commodify, breed animals for money, you know, and you know, and one of the things that's really interesting, if you haven't seen the documentary Christspiracy, I'm so passionate about Christspiracy. You must watch it. Um, in there, the Cameron Waters and Kip Anderson, they go all over the world to find out this one question: how would Jesus kill an animal? And Cameron Waters is, you know, his grandpa was you know, like a Baptist preacher. Cameron, you know, was in a gospel, you know, band, and very much born again type Christian. And he started wondering how Jesus would kill an animal. And this led him to meet Kip Anderson, who wrote, Cowspiracy and What the Health and Seaspiracy. And so all of a sudden now Christspiracy is being born. It's like 8 years in the making. You can watch it now free. It's streaming free. But and it was bought from Netflix. Netflix was going to do it, and then they wanted to change it because of all the political, religious narratives that were going to be like exposed. And they bought the rights back from Netflix. It's huge because when Jesus flipped those tables over,
Yes.
the Bible, well, he was crucified 3 days later. He was crucified not for the reason we think he was crucified. He was crucified because he disrupted the way that they were making money for a whole day. He went in there and flipped those tables. That word where it says, money changers, you have made my house, a den of thieves or whatever, and money changers. Well, what it really means, and they found it out in Jerusalem by a scholar, and it's all in the documentary. What that word means is violent ones. And,
Yeah.
The interpretations and the words in the Bible are so skewed. And so you have made my house a den of violence. And the amount of animals that were being slaughtered in the temples at that time in the name of sacrifice was unbelievable. And Cameron walks under the ground there. He's like knee deep in where all the blood flowed from all those animals that were killed during that time. Our entire animal agriculture that we know today is just the other side of that coin.
So it's, Renee, thank you. It's I know several people who say they've healed themselves by becoming vegan. Now, I was the assistant to an Eskimo shaman for 7 years. And of course, way up there in the north, there's nothing else to eat. Oranges
Right.
have to be flown in for 3 days. And there's barely potatoes grown, but not enough. I've seen that. I've lived that.
Yeah, it's horrible.
What do
We're
you do?
we're meant to live in the tropics.
Okay,
Humans are
so I'm in
really
the
meant
right
to live
place.
in the tropics. It's terrible that when you don't have any other choice. I get that. But
Yeah,
humans are really meant to live in the tropics.
yeah, yeah. And then another thing I learned there was that when animals, well, what the polar bear does when he eats a seal, before he eats the seal, he wants to make it really tasty. So he throws it up in the air to create fear, because when the seal has fear, it tastes better, which is also when animals eat humans. They want to create fear first, and if we don't have fear, we're not we're not tasty. We're not of interest.
Hmm. Wow. That's I know that when I know I've heard a lot when these animals are killed and before humans eat them, that fear is so much in their blood that so then we eat then that fear.
Yes, absolutely. And I can smell it. I can taste it. I mean, I barely ever eat meat anymore. Um,
Yeah.
just yeah. But, but during that time that I was there as an assistant to the Eskimo, and I saying Eskimo on purpose because that's what he wanted to be called. He was not an Inuit. Yeah, I could taste the difference in the
Wow.
meat.
I appreciate you bringing this up, and um what a great conversation to be having. It's all we are living in another world right now. We're living right here, right now in a physical plane, and we're also on a spiritual plane. And on that spiritual plane that we're all connected to, there's nobody eating animals. And so, I don't care where you are. You're not eating animals in the spiritual realm. And so, no matter where you're at. And so, I, when it talks in the Bible or wherever about as above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven,
Yeah.
I live my life today, thanks to Rowdy Girl and the Shining Lemurian, as if, I'm in the heavens.
I love that.
I come from that place. I live there all the time, no matter what I'm doing.
I'm living in the heavens. Absolutely love that. So you have this strong connection to animals. Ted, you have this strong connection to, is it fire? Is it
Yes.
colors? What is it? What's your strongest connections?
My strongest connection. Whew. Well, I toy with the title of Aquarius, High Druid Priest of the Order of Merlin. I'm connected to everything. I work with the energy of colors because that's energy. So, and fire is energy, and a fire is one of the most immediately transformative elemental forces that we know about. It changed everything for me. That experience of walking on fire changed everything for me. And so I guess that is a really strong connection for me, because that was the major turning point in my life. I'd had several. Those weren't those weren't the most pleasant, but
What exactly
you know,
changed? What exactly, how would you describe that change that fire did to you?
I've always wanted to be an artist. My mother, when I was a little boy, less than, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old, something like that, coloring books, colors. I watched her pick up a piece of paper and a crayon, and she drew a picture of Mickey Mouse, and I was hooked. I wanted to be able to do that, and I did all that I could to do that. It was just a passion for me. I remember coloring and asking my mother. I said, if I get better, if I get good enough at this, can I make pictures without the lines? So I've always wanted to be an artist, but I've always, like many other artists, we all start out that way, and then somewhere along the line, society and whatever convinces us that we should, it's not a real job. You really need this just in case that didn't work, and so I went the corporate route and did all of that. But all that time, I always had this desire to be an artist. But an analogy I've come up with is I was like an artist with a beggar's cup. I'd run down into the stream of creativity and I'd get me a cup of that, and then I would use it up, and then I'd go back and get another cup and use it up. That evening when I walked on fire, I went home, I went to sleep. The fire came back to me then and went into me. And ever since then, I've had this connection with fire. But now, because of that opening up to possibilities that I had no idea were possible, now that stream of creativity literally flows through me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in it. It's I may use different words to describe what Renee was trying to say. We really occupy two different dimensions, or realities, or something. We're here, we're in the world, but we're not of the world.
Yeah.
I want to say to that, because when the first time I walked on fire, I was there, at John's place, and I was like, I couldn't believe I was watching all of the stuff happen, and Ted was so encouraging, and and he was talking in my ear, helping me understand that, as long as I wasn't afraid, that I'd be able to do it. But if I had any fear, don't do it. If there's any fear, and there's nothing wrong with it, if you're scared, there's nothing wrong with that. Just don't go out there. You'll get burned. And so I said, well, by golly, I am channeling the warrior in me, the goddess in me. I am going to get out there, and I just let whatever pour through, and I walked across that fire, and I believe you were holding my hand that first time. I
Possibly
was
so.
I think so. I think the first time I walked through and it was not fast.
Uh-uh.
We didn't like walk, like, oh my God, I'm getting burned. It was just like
Yeah.
a walk across the park.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Walking
Yeah.
And now
into
I
a new
love it.
life.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was hooked.
Yeah. Fire is a really good teacher. It tells you
I'll have,
exactly when you're in fear or when you're,
yeah,
you know, thinking
I'll
you're in
have
the
to send
lower
you
realm.
this. I've got some pictures of you on the fire. I'll have to dig them up and send them to you.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Great conversation.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad you could be here, Renee.
I am too. I am too. It feels like yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Mhm.
yeah, there's no time. There's
Yeah.
so both of you have written books. No, Renee, you're going to write a book, or you're busy
No, it's
writing a book.
written. Oh, it's
It's
written.
written. Is it out?
Oh, it is written. I'm 70,000 words in and I'm working with the book coach right now, getting it ready for the publisher. It's due in 7 days to Bloomsbury, the same publisher that published Harry Potter.
Yay.
Yay!
Wow, magical. I guess Bloomsbury is into magic. They
I
understand
cannot
that.
believe it. I mean, yeah, I can. I can believe it. But I'll tell you what, just like J.K. Rowling was turned down by a bunch of publishers, my book was turned down by a lot of the major publishers, but Bloomsbury, I mean, every one of them were thumbs up. So,
It seems like as I listened to your various interviews, it feels like your life just started aligning at
yeah.
some point, whether it's because of the Shining Lemurian or the Rowdy Girl or somewhere in that area, your life just lined up, and am I getting this right? It was just a
Yeah,
smooth path, and
all
so
my
there's nothing.
past, all the past stuff that I did, all the performance, all the business acumen that I had, all of the experience I had as an entrepreneur, everything now is for this cause. And I believe it's necessary. We're in our 11th year. We're as a nonprofit, so we've gone through some unbelievable difficulties. I mean, we actually went through 3 floods.
Yeah.
We through droughts and a major freeze. And when your mission is to take care of so many lives and not just yourself, it puts things in perspective. Uh, I've been given the ability, I believe, because of Rowdy Girl's presence and the energy that I channel, much like what came through with the Lemurian. I've been given the ability to attract funds that I don't have any lack. There's no lack. There's no shortage. There's plenty of money in the world. There's plenty of resources, and I'm living proof of that because there's no way that we would be here right now with all these animals, all this land, all this responsibility. I have full staff, consultants around the world, and all this is because of the vision, not
Yeah.
because I'm super smart. It's because of the vision that I finally bowed to.
Mhm.
Yes, and I believe, it must have been quite difficult to convince your husband to change the cattle ranch into a sanctuary.
Yeah, it was I was pretty, I talk about it in the book. It's called Secret Diary of a Cattle Rancher's Wife. That's the working title. Rowdy Girl, Secret Diary of a Cattle Rancher's Wife. But, you know, I didn't know I was going vegan on a cattle ranch. There was nothing in my mind that was saying, I think I'll go vegan. I mean, I didn't know I was going to become the first documented beef cattle ranch in the world to go vegan and change their whole life and live to tell about it. I didn't realize that was happening. It wasn't done for that purpose. I had an awakening on a Texas cattle ranch. And, I think it was because of my past and all the things that I was able to access that awakening. My husband, however, was, was shocked whenever I was at his mother's house on Halloween 2014. And, I, instead of seeing, beef stew in a bowl that I was offered, I saw floating dead, hacked up animals. And I said it out loud. I blurted it. And, his mother, Effie, God rest her soul, I said, I can't eat that, and I had just watched a bunch of videos, another video that had, that led me up to this moment to where it just blurted out of my mouth. That's, she went to offer me this stew, and I said, I can't eat that. And she was like, why, Renee? I said, because it's got floating dead, hacked up animals in it, and I can't eat it. I had never called it that. That was the first time I actually said what it was. I always called it stew meat before that, probably like everybody else. But I actually called it what it was. And everybody stopped talking and looked at me like I'd cussed her out. And so that day I went down the vegan rabbit hole and I've never been back. But my husband, oh my God, he was there. He was in the room. He was like, what the hell just happened? What did you just do? I said, I think I've gone vegan. It was like, it was as if, I'm at what? I said, I think I must have gone vegan just now. I'm not going to ever eat any more animals, and neither are you. You're not going to. What do you mean? I'm neither am I. I live here. I live in this house. And I said, well, and I went into the house and I started throwing stuff out, and I wanted to have a funeral for all the dead heads that were all over my house because my husband was a big hunter. There was dead heads everywhere. And all of a sudden I became really sensitive to everything in the house and I wanted everything buried. And he told me I'd lost my mind. And that's when I said, yeah, I think I have. I've lost my mind and I got a new one. And this stuff, you ain't gonna be eating that in this house. Well, I live here too. I said, well, you're gonna eat it out there, or I'm gonna be kicking it out of here. And so I don't know. I just got I think Rowdy Girl and me have aligned in that spirit of being rowdy. And I got very rowdy with him. I because I couldn't let him kill the cows. See?
Yeah.
So Tommy, I didn't really convince Tommy. I shoved it down his throat pretty much. And and in fact, there's a T-shirt that says veganism was shoved down my throat. I chewed it up and I liked it. And that's pretty much what I did to Tommy. I shoved it because I knew he loved animals. And we'd been married not once, but twice. You know, we were married the first time. I'm a recovering alcoholic, drug addict. That's very, very, I talk about that in my book. I talk about it openly. The reason we divorced the first time was because of that. I've been sober over 12 years now. And in our marriage now, or during that time, me going vegan was about to make us divorce again. I mean, it would have been, if I'd have came home and said, I had an affair, he'd have probably had more of an understanding than me going vegan. It was like, you did what? You can't go vegan. And so anyway, it was a nightmare, really. It was. And it all happened on Halloween. And so he was really mad. I was staying with the cows all day until like nightfall. I took my guitar out there. I took all my colored pencils. I did, I did what I did with the cows. I followed them around. I became one of them. I'll never forget the day after I went vegan when I walked outside and it was there was a fog kind of like, laying down on the land, and I could see the fog drifting down and I saw it touch the ground and I saw this gentle smoke kind of coming up and the cows were out there and I was like, wow, yesterday this was a cattle ranch and today it's a sanctuary. What changed? What
Did,
changed?
did the animals feel your change?
Oh, you better believe they did. You better believe it. They felt it. I went out amongst them. I went into the center of them. I got on the ground with them. Like I said, I laid with them. I slept with them. I walked with them. I was at a period during that time. It was like I was in the wilderness. And it might have been 40 days for all I know. It was a long time that I was with them every day, and I didn't go home until nightfall because I could not stand to be in that house. And if I left him, he would kill the cows. And if he left me, he knew I'd take over. And so uh, I started pouring my heart out on social media. I met my first vegan friend there. I didn't have any vegan friends except Rowdy Girl. And I met my first friend on social media. Her name is Jeannie, and she's the one that convinced me to start Secret Diary of a Cattle Rancher's Wife. I started that on Facebook before there was ever a Rowdy Girl. And that's where all these vegans started coming in and all these people because I started pouring out my heart. Um, and then I met Kip Anderson, who I was just telling you about, that produced Christspiracy. He had produced Cowspiracy, and he wanted to know all about my story of what was going on because these cows were about to be slaughtered. Tommy was going to send them all to the sale barn, get out of the business, and another divorce was on. That's what was about to happen. And I wanted to do it different. I wanted to figure out a way to buy his cows. And so I talked to some people behind the scenes. Tommy knew nothing about it. It was totally behind his back. And I got the money. I figured out how I was going to do it. I had never raised money before online, but I did, I started a fundraiser, and I went to Tommy and I said, Tommy, before I launched it, I said, Tommy, will you let me buy your cows? He said, what? You want to buy my cows? And I was like, yeah, if I could buy your cows, how much will you let me buy them for? You're going to sell them all anyway. Why don't you sell them to me? He was like, you've lost your mind. Like, yeah, we've established that. And he said, oh, okay, Renee, I'll play along. He never thought I'd do it. He said, I could get I could get 40,000 for them at the sale barn. I'll sell them to you for 30. I said, okay. And I said, can I lease your land for $1 a year? He said, sure, Renee. I said, how about 2 years? Sure, Renee. Shook on it. You shake Tommy Sonnen's hand, it's done. You don't need a contract. I went back to all my friends and I told them we launched the fundraiser the next day. I raised the money to buy his herd in less than 6 weeks. And every step of the way, Tommy was more and more convinced. And so he went vegan on May 2nd, 2015. And he went plant-based for his heart. He first of all did it for his heart. But in the meantime, I was shoving every documentary down his throat. He was watching everything I showed him. To his credit, he never said no. He watched everything I showed him because I had become a new person. You know, the Bible talks about it, other spiritual texts talk about, you become a new person, you become a new creature. I became new. My old mind was gone. A new mind had been created, and Tommy knew there was something different about me. And he watched everything I showed him, and Forks Over Knives really resonated with him. And he went plant based because his dad had died of a heart attack at the age of 62. And so Tommy decided on May 2nd, 2015, on the day of our very first fundraiser where we raised all the rest of the money, that he was going to go plant based. And
What's
now
the
he's
difference?
gone from a plant-based vegan to an environmental vegan. Now he is 100% an ethical vegan. He loves these animals. He's a wonderful steward and caretaker. I could not have a better partner in life. And who knew? Who knew that me shoving veganism down his throat was going to turn him into an ethical vegan? I don't recommend everybody do that way, but it worked for him.
So what's the difference between a plant-based vegan and a vegan for our audience?
Plant-based vegans, they're liable to, eat meat again. If you're doing it just for your health, I'm glad you get there that way. Any way you get there is good. But a lot of people that just do it for their health, they don't have the consciousness yet. They're not plugged in yet to the plight of the animals. I mean, when we're killing um, God, just billions of animals, almost 10 billion animals a year. Uh, when you think about right now, 3,000 a second are living in fear, 3,000, just you know, these animals are killed when they're babies, you know, they're not, you know, we don't live in a society like in the Eskimos where they're doing it for, they have no other choice. You know, we have choices in our world, you
Yeah.
know, we have choices and we should not be complicit like
Yeah.
that.
And would you see it as basically building karma when we kill or eat what has been murdered? We also get treated that way.
Yeah. That's why there's no peace on earth.
Yeah.
No
We
peace
also
on
get
earth
hurted.
until there's peace on our plate.
Yeah.
It's real simple.
Yeah. Yeah. So
No
your book
peace.
is about your diary and what happened in your life.
It's a complex combination of my past because what gave me the courage to do all this is a lot of the trauma I went through and survived and thrived is the reason I have such uh, a desire to be a voice for those screaming in the
Yeah.
right now. I mean, a lot of the things that happened to me, um, you know, happened to animals. I've been raped multiple times. A lot of trauma. My mother was raped by my father, and I was conceived. So there's a lot of trauma I've worked through that I talk about in the book, and I relate it to the animals in such a way where one minute I'll be talking about myself, and the next minute the reader is kind of taken into the world of the animals, and it's like there's no difference. And so, yeah, so I talk about religion. I was also raped by a preacher. I talk about that. I talk about how, you know, I was, you know, you have to read the book to get all of it. But I really, and so I mean, I've studied the Bible so much, but me being raped by a preacher, it's actually what made me have the courage to study other religions. That's what gave me the platform that I needed to go study other religions. And I never lost sight of who Jesus was in my life. I love Jesus. You know, I will always love Jesus. He's my rock. I never let him go, but he let me go. He let me go study, he let me go seek, he let me do everything and he never left me.
Yeah.
And I'm all the way back full circle, but it took that rape. It's weird, you know. I've healed and I talk about all that in the book.
Yeah. And you know, when we have these traumas and
Mhm.
we actually work through them and get to the other side and are not the victim anymore, that's when the magic happens. And I was watching a documentary on Maria Callas. She could only sing as the way she wanted to sing, that powerful singing, because of the rape that happened by Nazi soldiers when she was a teenager.
Yeah, you can't be a victim. If you're going to be a victim in this world, in this life, you're gonna die and come back a victim.
Yeah,
So, you know,
yeah, gotta
we
move
gotta
out of it.
gotta lose that mind.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And firewalking is one way of doing it, and mandalas healing and healing through being vegan. So this is a lot about being vegan. Ted, tell me about your book.
The one that's published now or the other three that I'm working on?
Ooh.
Let's start with the
The
one you've published.
the one that's out now, it's the title is The Magic of Wonder. The subtitle is Fun and Easy Self-Improvement. I had gathered a cardboard box full of spiral notebooks, pages and letters and stuff where I'd sit and scribble down, throw down ideas, massage ideas that I'd read someplace else. I've read boxes full of books and a lot of that stuff. When Renee might remember when I went to Arkansas. I went to Arkansas for like 14 months and just camped around Lake Washita. No cell phone, no radio, no TV, very little contact with any human beings, building medicine wheels and meditating and talking to the animals and having the animals talk back. And they will when you get right, when you get in alignment with that. remind me to tell you about this photographic safari I went on.
Ooh.
The book, I've come to the conclusion, for me at least, that it's not necessary to have to go off to the Himalayan mountains and find a guru or a yogi in the here or there and study for weeks and hours and put on all these disciplines in order to be able to achieve what's referred to as enlightenment. I'm the shortcut guy. You know, I want to do away with all that and get to the point. So I took all of that information and I wanted to boil it down to what they call an airplane book. It's a kind of a book that you take it with you on an airplane, you get on and you get settled down, you get everything, and you open up the book and you begin to read, and you're like an hour and a half flight, and at the end of the flight, you finish the book. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to put in the hands of people a quick and easy way to change their life, to improve whatever was going on with them, and that's how this book came up. I was invited. Well, my artwork put me on a TED stage to do a TED talk. And that's where I started really focusing in on the book and the subject and the matter of the book. And the theme of the book is wonder. It all begins with wonder. We think, well, okay, well, I had an idea. Well, you had an idea, but preceding that idea was wonder. It's a superpower that we aren't really aware of. It's the beginning of everything. The first person that saw fire, wondered about it. They didn't have ideas. Oh, I'm going to do this with it. I'm going to do that with it. They wondered, what can I do with this? What is this? I wasn't there, but I'm sure they first thing that if probably reached out to try to touch it and got burned, and that's been an ancestral fear. I pack a room full of 100 people that are going to walk on fire. Ask them all what do they think about fire. They'll all say fire burns. And then you teach them it doesn't, and then their world opens up. What else have I been led to believe is not true? So in the book, I talk about this, and I talk about wonder and how wonder is really what lights up the world. Renee wondered about those animals, and it lit up her world. She didn't know what she was going to do with that, but she was just so full of wonder and amazement and appreciation that it opened up and received her and empowered her, and look at where wonder has taken her.
Mm.
So that's the subject of my book, and then I put things in there, exercises for people to do. One chapter of my book is entitled "The Breakfast of Champions." It's a really simple way to change your life, and it's free. It's easy. It takes very little effort to do it. You just have to remember to do it consistently, and it'll start doing its own self. And that is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning. Before you open your eyes, start thinking, what are you grateful for? For myself, I start with, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow,
Yeah.
thank you. I get to sleep in a dry bed. I have a roof over my head. I'm so grateful for this, and I'm so grateful for that. And if it's difficult, that's okay. That's understandable. It's new. Start small. Start with the little things. Oh, I'm grateful that I've got shoes to wear. I'm grateful for the room temperature or whatever you can. The little things lead to the bigger things. The bigger things lead to the bigger things. And if you do this, all you have to do is just do that. Pretty soon, you are going to be so excited about what your day is going to look like. You can't stay in bed.
I love that. What a beautiful way to look at it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not interrupting. I'm just like, I mean,
Ooh,
I'm in wonder right now.
yes, that's it.
Yes.
That's the way you start your day. It's like a
Yeah.
thermostat in a building. You set that thermostat, and throughout the day, it does its magic, keeps the building at the right temperature. You set your thermostat in the morning with gratitude and appreciation. I say gratitude and appreciation are the two wings that lift us above all adversity. You do that, and your day will be amazing. It may go to hell. Your whole day may just crash, and you may be going, well, I started it all off. Do it anyway.
Just stay
Just do it
there.
anyway. Just stay
I
there.
love it. I love it. And I think that's one
Just
of the
stay
beautiful
there.
things. I think that's one of the beautiful things that happened, the time that we were like in each other's company so much that wonder was always all through us. I mean, we lived in a state of
Mhm.
wonder. Oh, we were always like wondering what we could do.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Thank you for that, recalling that. Yes.
Yes, we were always in
We
that.
did a lot of magic together.
We did. It was very wonderful.
No pun intended, I'm sure.
Oh, no pun
And it's
intended.
just really wonderful to see how the two of you interact. I can feel that, how you were in wonder together.
Yeah.
And I, just to back up to when you wrote that song, you weren't on drugs or anything.
No,
No,
no
ma'am.
drugs. Now I'm an artist too. I mean, I have been that
Mm-hmm.
whole experience turned me into, I paint now, I draw, I do the things, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Ted, I was going to ask you more about um, being a high priest of the Order of Merlin. Can you,
Aquarius. Yes.
Aquarius? Yes, I'll call you Aquarius.
Welcome to my age.
Yes, thank you. It's
Welcome to
wonderful
my
be
age.
in age, age of Aquarius.
Age of Aquarius. Yes.
Yes.
Yep, yep.
Is that something anybody can join? Is it an order that is, is it a secret order? Is it a spiritual thing? Tell us.
It's open membership. You are what you believe you are. If you think you might be a wizard, I would recommend a book by Deepak Chopra entitled The Way of the Wizard.
I love that book.
You read that book, you'll find your wizardry, your wizard self in that book, and the rest will manifest itself to you.
Mhm.
Or you can sit down and talk to me. I'll take you the same journey. Renee can do the same thing. It's a knowing. It's not really a membership as such. There's no formal circumstances or certificates or anything like that. Oh, maybe this might help. I was having a conversation with a life coach, and she was all in her world, and she said, well, I've got this certificate, I got this certificate. So where did you get your certification? And I knew where this was going, right? So I said, well, I don't have anything I can hang on the wall, but I got my training, my knowledge of life coaching, the same place that Jesus got his.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. That's all you had to
You,
say.
you just open yourself up. If you open up your heart in a way where you're willing to accept that there's other people out there who can benefit from that heart feeling, amazing things show up for you. I was invited to a firewalk teaching in South Africa. I was gifted a time at a major, it's like a refuge for the wildlife. It covers thousands of acres. The lodge we stayed in, their subtitle is Fit for a King. It was like $1,000 a night to stay there. I was gifted with 4 or 5 nights there. In the morning, daybreak, we go out front. We get in this Jeep with a ranger who's got an elephant gun across the dashboard, and he takes us out, and you get to see animals. And they have this kind of a contest, or something you look for is how many of this particular animal, and so this is the collection that they take you out to see. One day it worked out where I was the only one other than the ranger on that journey. And this was like probably second day. And every time we would get somewhere, like for instance, the rhinoceros, he would spot one. It would be across the waterway where it was much smaller, and oh yeah, that's great. And he didn't know this, but what I'm doing, and this is a photographic safari. They totally natural. They don't allow any kind of hunting or killing there. What I'm doing is I'm opening my heart to that rhinoceros. And I'm saying, I love you. You are so amazing. You are so majestic. I would really, really love to have a closer picture of you, that I can share with my friends. The rhinoceros started coming toward us, turned, perfect pose, perfect shot. Okay, no deal. The next time we come across some other animal, I do the same thing. The same thing happens. After about 3 of these, now I'm about to fill up my scorecard in the first day. The ranger he says, I've never seen that before. I've never seen that before. Animals and those animals don't do that for me. What's going on
Wow.
here? And I told him, I said, it's love. It's non-judgmental love. I'm not there to eat the animal. I'm not there to kill the animal. I'm there to appreciate the animal and to share our mutual life energy with each other. And animals respond to that.
They do.
You go out into the woods somewhere and you sit down in the woods and you get quiet and you start offloading all of the stuff that keeps you from being connected to nature. Birds will land on you. Squirrels will come up there and they'll chitter and chatter with you. They respect us when we respect them.
You got that.
I may have gotten off track from your question, and I didn't mean to do that.
This is great. It's, I've done safaris here in Kenya, and the guide, he would say, well, this is the first time I've seen the big five animals.
Yeah.
And he was very excited, and we realized it was just we were all in our hearts, and that's when it happens. And he had been a guide for several years, for I think 4 years, and yeah, that's exactly how it works. And I have a friend. She used to live in Texas, and I visited her for several weeks, and she has 2 parrots, 2 cats, 2 dogs. And they all walk through the house freely. So the parrots will waddle along the hallway. The cat will be there. The dogs will be there. And Pat, she just holds a space of, in my realm, nobody eats nobody.
That's the way it is, a Rowdy Girl.
Yeah.
There's a turkey that lives with a turkey in the house. There's rabbits. There's cats. The dogs go through there. The goats might come in down there. I mean, it's like Noah's Ark. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the realm you hold. It's the energy you
Oh,
hold, the
people ask
intention.
me all the time, how do you keep the cats from? I'm like, they'll eat mouse. They'll eat a mice out there under, in a barn, but they will not touch our rabbits. They will not touch our chickens.
Yeah.
Because they know they're our family. Now,
Yes.
when they're out in the barns and all that, they'll do something, but
Yeah.
not, no. I was just sitting here thinking, Ted, when you were talking about all that, I was like imagining, exactly what you're talking about.
You weren't wondering, were you?
Well, yeah, I was wondering too. I think I was a combination of wondering and imaging,
Mm.
because I do the same thing. Like I have this thing for snakes, and they don't bother me, like a lot of people are scared of snakes. Well, I'm not scared of snakes. And I've learned the same thing with spiders and scorpions and, all these, like supposed creatures that should be, humans should be, considered more deadly than them. And so, I just put myself in spaces with them. Like, we don't kill snakes here. We don't kill scorpions. We don't kill spiders. We'll relocate them. We don't have the energy of, I'm going to kill you. You don't belong here. In fact, we have wild pigs that are a part of our sanctuary here, and we can walk amongst the wild pigs, and they know they're not going to be eaten out here. There's coyotes. We take care of all of our, sanctuary animals, so they're not going to be predated by these creatures. We do relocate, some if they get to be too many, but we never kill, invasive species, you
Yeah.
know. So,
Yes.
but I also just like, I'm thinking about the song, and I want to ask you something. You said so many people have heard it and love it. I'm wondering, uh, what is next with us for this song? I think we need to do something that, we, after all these years, I don't know how many years it's been, since I've been in the same space with you, Ted, and I'm so glad Una brought us together. But what's next for us in this song?
Oh, we're gonna have to. We're not gonna have to. Let me change that. I look forward to sitting, meditating about this, and I think we've from my side of the table, it seems like we've bumped into this a time or two before. We need to do something with it. Let's do this with it, but it never really. Maybe the time wasn't right. Maybe the world wasn't right for it. But sure feels like things are happening now. I mean, look what Una's brought this up. I mean, I got to fault her for it. You're the one. You're the one to blame, Una.
Well,
Yes,
I think
thank you.
she's definitely a shining Lemurian. Look at her. Look at her.
Yeah, definitely,
Yes.
definitely.
Wait, I want that backdrop.
Oh, you can have it. I'm
Ah,
happy to share it.
I would love to have a backdrop like
isn't
that.
that cool?
My God, it's exactly, I feel like turn over, let me see. Yeah, there we are. All three of us right there.
It's like the cover for the album, right?
Mhm.
Yes, let's see where it takes us. Well, it took all three of us to get together here today. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
and maybe more. Maybe other people have been involved in um,
Oh, they're
getting us
hovering. They're all over right
Yeah,
now. There's a
yeah,
chorus going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's echoes, 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 echoes everywhere.
yeah.
Yes.
That's the last line of the song. Yeah,
Echoes. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Echoes through time.
I mean, it's all of the song is perfect. It's just your voice, the music behind it, the words. It's like we said, it's absolutely magical. And anything I can do to help that song heal more and more people, touch more and more people, give goosebumps to more and more people, I'm happy to. I'm honored to be part of that.
Well, maybe
Well, we appreciate it.
yeah, maybe next steps are for us to meditate on this and get together, Ted, on Zoom, and maybe even make plans to be in each other's presence to do next steps. I mean, I'm only I
Cool.
mean, heck, if I can fly to Kathmandu, I can figure out how to fly to wherever you are, or vice versa. I mean, it's
Yeah,
only a
yeah.
flight away.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're not
Yeah.
that far away from each other.
No, not in today's world. We're not.
Yeah,
No, no,
yeah,
no.
A couple of hours
yeah.
by flight, by air.
Yeah, that's right.
Is there anything I didn't ask you there, anything you want to mention, anything?
I can't think of anything.
Whee! You,
Okay.
both of us, Renee and I, either one, you push our buttons, we can talk about this stuff all day long.
I know, right?
Right, well,
Whenever I was thinking about this, wondering, I was like, wow, this is interesting, because my executive assistant was like, Renee, there's a podcast on your schedule that I didn't schedule. I was like, oh yeah, I know. Because she does all my scheduling. I mean, I do things, I have a publicist, and I have a social media team. And so she was like, what is this on your schedule? And you wanted me to send them something, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, because I had hidden it from my Rowdy Girl schedule because it was different. And here it is. It's so interesting that the very thing that we needed to talk about is the very thing that people that are interviewing me now are like, they're wanting to know more about my spiritual walk. They're wanting to know more about what makes me tick. They're wanting to know about who is behind this Rowdy Girl, and with the Texas accent. And yeah. So, and one thing I want to say that I haven't, I think I might have said it publicly, but I'm recently diagnosed full on autistic. And I mean, diagnosed, but you know, the reason why I wanted to get this diagnosis is because I don't look at it as a disability. I look at it as a superpower. And it is a superpower for me. I now know exactly, what is going on in my wiring. I think a lot of the people that are here to change the world, that are here on other planes of existence, are being diagnosed autistic when
Mhm.
what they really are
They're
is
not.
Have
You're
you
right.
heard,
I
have you
agree.
listened to the telepathy tapes?
I am what, yes, I
Oh
am.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's fabulous. It's very, very inspiring.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah. And maybe that's what creates that extremely strong connection that you have to love and to
yeah.
every being.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an interesting
Yeah.
world, and all these diagnosis things.
Yeah.
It's like diagnose. I'm like, well, you know, um, one of the things that's really shown me, and this is for anybody out there that might be listening, and people that have autism, actually can be very smart and intellectual. They're not
Oh
stupid, they're
yeah.
not dumb, and they're not like all silent. But one of the things that's funny about me personally is I love to be in silence. Like I've gone to full on 10-day silent retreats multiple times because I really prefer to exist when there's no talking.
Yeah.
My preference is to be in nature. Yeah.
So what
And
makes you autistic? Because I don't see anything autistic except for your ability to connect on so many different realms.
well, the animals, number one, there's a big, big, big connection. I mean, I really do hear animals and I talk to animals, and I um I have an extreme masking. Masking is one of my big, 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 like I charted off the charts in masking. And now that I know that, that's why I'm so grateful for like this podcast. Like like I have lived in my 67 years in overwhelm and overdrive in burnout so many times. I've burned out because I've been able to mask a lot. That's why I'm back to my music right now. I'm back to my art. uh this podcast was a perfect thing for me to do. At 67 years old, I don't have any, there's no signs inside of me of slowing down. If anything, it's ramping up. And so, I teach yoga, one day a week. I've got over 1,000 hours of yoga teacher training. I'm going into, I'm staying into things, activities that really keep the mask off, and who I really am fully present. And I'm being more and more mindful of, when I am having to wear a mask, like if I have to go to the grocery store, or if I have to be in a crowd full of people that I don't really like. I really don't like crowds. Uh, I don't like being in crowds at all, but I sure can show up like I love it, but I don't like it at all. And so that sort of thing. Yeah.
I'm wondering whether I'm autistic.
Yeah, yeah, could be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been an interesting journey to to get a real diagnosis. I really highly recommend this. If you look up Wilderwood, they do they have a nonprofit and they use horses, equine therapy. And Temple Grandin has been there, and she's autistic. And but anyway, I was picked for a study. The study's over now, but I'm actually part of a clinical trial because so many women late in life get diagnosed. And I went through a battery of tests. I mean, it wasn't just one. I probably went through like 6 or 7, maybe 8 different tests.
Mhm.
And then they have their own test. It's called the Radiance, WRADIANCE. But I highly recommend them.
Okay, and being diagnosed helps you in understanding yourself and
Oh yeah.
working out how to
Oh gosh,
be in
yes.
society.
I'm going to get a therapist. I'm going to get a neurodivergent therapist now because there's so many things coming to light for me now. I'm
Right.
starting to understand things, like, a lot of the stimming that like stimming, and I could just using my hands a lot, kicking my feet. I always have something beside me that I'm doing, uh, to self-soothe, and also just learning to be authentic, taking
Yeah.
the mask, living my life from who I really am and doing less of what I don't want to do. Sometimes I do things I don't want to do and I show up able to do it, uh, but I don't really want to do it. And so I'm just learning. There's a lot to learn about it.
Yeah. 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 I would assume that everybody masks a little bit.
Yeah, probably a little bit.
Yeah.
I think there's 1 in 40 people, I think it is, that's autistic. So,
Okay. That's a lot.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I think a lot of people, especially more and more, it's not just the Rain Man anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you think of autism in the past, it was the Rain Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll do a little bit of research on that and figure out what that all means. Okay. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for being on this podcast. It's been really fun and really interesting. Your messages are great, and I want to finish with what Ted says: the rainbow can't behold its own beauty; it needs others to reflect it. We need
Yes.
to tell people that we love them because they need the reflection of themselves. We need to tell them how beautiful they are.
Mhm.
We cannot assume that they just know, because that's what we do very often. We just assume people know that we love them, that we see them, that we think they're beautiful.
Exactly. Exactly. I
It,
love that. I love that
so
very much.
once a day, reflect someone's rainbow is 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 maybe something that one can take away from this. Yeah.
Exactly. I love that
Yep.
so much. And thank you for getting us all together. Thank you for getting
Yes.
us
Yeah.
together. And
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you for making time. Thank you for being here and answering all my different questions, unusual questions, perhaps. And
well, I want to say thank you to everybody listening. If you want to learn
Yes.
more about all the work out there that at least that we're doing here through Rowdy Girl, the cow, you can go to rowdygirlsanctuary.org, and I'm all over Instagram, Facebook, and all the things, YouTube, TikTok, all of it.
yeah,
So
and I'll put all the links that of both of you. I'll put all of them in the below the YouTube. Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so much.
everyone.
It's